Hey, this is Mike. Welcome. This is Real Black TV. Honor and privilege. I mean, anytime I have an opportunity to meet anybody from the Bay Area, you know it's gonna be a hella good interview. Because and these gentlemen, they are the brains, the wits, the talent, the energy behind the brand new movie, Blindspotting.
What is this?
Hey, I would like to get out.
Look at this.
I'm better one in the glove, though.
Yeah.
I ain't trying to go back to jail.
$200
Please let me
for
out.
Collins.
Not Collins' gun.
Very nice.
Oh, I just got an Uber pickup.
You got it. Is this an Uber? Hell yeah.
Welcome to Philly.
Thank you.
I'm going to interview on the red carpet later, so I'm gonna eliminate all the random. How does it feel and what does it like and what is this movie? But for folks that don't know, what exactly? And you guys know language so well, so I have to use extra big words because I know we're going to attract a more intelligent populace to this particular video installment.
No. Well, excuse me.
So I got to get my Michael Eric Dyson on. Hey. What is Blindspotting?
It's a slang term that a character in the film creates in order to understand a concept. Val is this is how she learns things, and she's at the moment studying Rubin's vase, which is a psychology experiment, which you've probably seen, or is a picture of a vase. But if you look at it another way, it's also two faces. And the point being that we are all preconditioned to see one thing or the other, and you can't see both at the same time. And so Blindspotting is her way of remembering what that term is.
Variety compared to Do the Right Thing, I do think it's very cool to have a movie that really investigates what's happening not only within the culture but within American society, and then in a city like Oakland.
No, you can't catch me. I'm on too fast on the gas. Don't chase me.
Put him up like this, you got hands. I'm a tough guy.
3 a.m.
Do me a favor. I got 3 days left on this probation. When you got that gun on you, just don't tell me about it. Plausible deniability.
Oh, do you mean this gun?
Get out.
Good night, Colin.
Yo, bro.
Stop! Stop! Don't stop!
It's been like a 9-year process, but essentially, our producers, Jess Calder and Keith Calder, sort of found Rafa through his YouTube fame as a poet. Asked him to write a movie involving verse, and later on they met me because he couldn't show up at an event, and so I covered the event. They said, "Oh, you guys should write this movie together," and we decided.
We're like, yeah, great.
Yeah, we were already doing everything else, so we were making albums together. I don't know why we wouldn't make this movie together, and I think that was, and then that's when we decided that it needed to be about the Bay Area, and then these, Miles and Colin were sort of the characters we found to best illustrate the way that the Bay is changing. So that's why we settled on these two guys, and then it was just like, great, we understand who these people are, we understand their dynamic, now let's like throw life at them and see what happens.
Rafa, I mean, so we're off camera, we're talking about the whole youth poetry movement, the slams, and a gentleman by the name of Mark Bamuthi Joseph.
Mark Bamuthi Joseph, our mentor, our first mentor.
Yeah, speak to, I mean, because he's doing incredible work as well. He's winning awards, and
he does.
I mean, there's like a whole level of artistry that has come out of the Bay Area, and this is just a piece of it. I mean, some people they feel that the whole Black independent film movement, this current wave, started with Medicine for Melancholy, and now this year you got Boots Riley and you up at Sundance, and Jen coming out, and all this other stuff. I mean, what about the culture? What about the spoken word scene? How, that creates opportunities for you to make movies outside the mainstream that are so excellent.
Yeah, I think spoken word is this great. I always refer to it as a gateway art form. David and I are both sort of educators that are sort of worked in anywhere from middle school to university level development in the arts. A lot of that is because of Mark Bamuthi Joseph was doing that for us and sort of taught us how to do that for other people. And what spoken word does is it's this great exercise in all the things you need for telling a good story, right? It's condensed. There's a time restraint. So you're using heightened language to get more out of every line. It's performative, right? Like you gotta sell it. It puts you in front of an audience, so you immediately can like understand what's working and what's not. Sincerity is the magic that it needs to function well. And you're judged in real time on the work that you do. And so I think the use of those elements is so great to nurture new and exciting voices, whether that funnels into music or theater or film or whatever mediums it is. But it's such a great entry place because it's accessing all these pieces. And so for us, like what Bamuti did, and in different ways for both of us, but led us to very similar places. It's like for me, Bamu got hold of me when I was 14, and I was a musician, and I had just started like dabbling in spoken word, and he was teaching a workshop at my high school for the next 3 years, and every Wednesday we were in there just like developing craft, and then getting on stage and trying, and coming back and doing it again. That refinement of that muscle, getting in front of 300 people, 500 people, 1,000 people, 2,000 people, you're just getting this intuition about what resonates and what's sincere and what works and what doesn't. I think we get the same thing out of theater. You get the same thing out of getting on stage as a musician, to dial in your voice, so that when another medium begs for the same thing, that transfer doesn't feel unnatural. It's just like, oh cool, like now we have 94 minutes to use those same arcs and those same principles, and those, like when we get to the verse sections of this film, those, I think people think those were the hardest things for us to write. We just shot those out. Yeah, like the final sort of culminating scene is a draft. Like it was a draft that never changed.
We kept saying, like, oh, we'll replace this. We'll rewrite this later. And then it got time to,
I think
a week before shooting, and I was like, this is
Let's
good. I don't know why we would change this. I added like 4 bars.
We had this great thing that I'd shot at, was always telling Diggs, like, but you'll rewrite it, you'll put it in your own words. And we're like a few days from getting to shoot it, and Diggs is just like, I'm just gonna add this section right here so I can kind of do my little thing.
Like, all I want to do is gas for this
fine. I just want, give me this right here.
The rest of it's
great. And we're like, we labored over other scenes. And this was just that. Those were the moments that were so natural.
One, I know it came together very quickly in terms of getting the money and having the window of opportunity. Were you workshopping it, rehearsing? I know you do a lot of things with the public in that sense.
Well, yeah.
I mean, did you, like, what was the development process?
The development process was, 9 years of discussion
and 17 years of friendship. That's what that was.
But we, 2 months before we started shooting, we got the word that we would be able to shoot this, and the script needed a page 1 rewrite. That we, and I'm back and forth shooting Blackish and Kimmy Schmidt, and I was like, I don't think this is possible. He said, I think it's possible. I'm gonna move to LA and do it. That's all I'm gonna do. And I was like, well, good luck, Brad. Can't help you. Like, I'm not gonna be there. And so he would just call me every night and be like, here's the things that I did. And I'd say, here's the 20 problems I have with that. But if you can see your way out of those 20 problems, that's a really good scene. And that's kind of how it works.
Yeah, and that, and then you're relying on that friendship to go, in the moments that I don't have access to Diggs for the sounding board, going like, this is how I think this line is going to need to be written to sound right coming out of his mouth. Wow. And the great thing about you hear about these great, and we're mirroring this in a sort of different way than I've seen it done before. These pairings of like a great director and a great actor. When we see the Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan pairings, where like they know each other so well, the shorthand is there. Same thing with the writing process. I'm sitting there going like, well, I know what Miles would say, and here's what we've talked about Colin's motivation is, and what is going to sound best coming out of Diggs's mouth, knowing all the things that we know about each other, just gave us this great shorthand where we didn't need to workshop it so much, because I know this word doesn't sound like something he would say, or any of the people that we're basing this on would say.
Right.
So then it can't be that word. So when it finally, what scenes would get to him, that we weren't having these massive sweeping changes. Most of each other's intuition was anticipated.
Yeah, it was really, our conversations were so much more about story than specifics of like the language was always there, because like you said, we grew up with language. That's what we knew how to do. We did not know how to make a movie.
Yeah.
So like that was a very steep learning curve.
Yeah.
Well, but it sounds like the added pressure we have to do this now also is what people are loving about the movie. I mean, it's very much of specifically right now in this time, but it also speaks to those 10 years that you've been watching the Bay Area change.
That's Mark again. That's Bambuti again. The word urgency. That's what he ingrained. Was like
true.
You make art out of its urgency. If it doesn't have that, it doesn't need to be told right now. So I think we only tried to do the film at moments, which has just been a consistent moment.
Right. That's sort of one of the great sadnesses about this film is how urgent it is, because it was also very urgent when we started writing it a decade ago. And we say this all the time, that we wish it was a period piece. We wish, you could look at this and be like, oh man, yeah. Remember when in 2009 when we were worried about like police shooting black boys all the time? Like, oh man, I'm so glad we're past that.
Well,
this was not the...
they were doing a lot worse, even,
Yeah.
forever. If we had cameras
Right.
a century ago,
For sure.
you could probably still make the same movie in a way.
Yeah,
but
when we had when we started working on this, had recently moved into an apartment in Oakland together, and we're experiencing like gentrification in a particular way. So every time we checked back in with this film, it was like, well, this stuff is still going on. What are the specific ways it has to be changed to feel like right now? And like, one of the biggest ways is that, when Oscar Grant was murdered, there was so much discussion about him, about about Oscar Grant, the human. That was a name that everybody knew, at least in the Bay, everybody knew. But where we've gotten to this point of now is that we can't remember the names. There's, they're reported on, and it's just feels like there's a new one all the time. So there's, one of my favorite parts of the film is early on when Miles is trying to remember the name of a shooting victim, and he's like, who was that? What was his name? Ashley's trying to move on with the conversation. He's just like, no, it was his name though. I know it's right there. And
it goes right by. It's in the first 10 minutes of the film, and it's stuff like that is the kind of stuff that we added. The stuff that's never changed is Colin and Miles' argument in the parking lot about 20 minutes before the end of the film. That scene is pretty unedited from the last 9 years.
Well, the version we shot is pretty unedited.
Yes.
And that was cut at least in half, because it was way too
like
long.
on the page, we sort of like, even in the rewrites, it was sort of like this sacred piece of the script where we were like, well, we're just trying to get there and to the end scene. And everything was sort of reverse engineered from there.
Yeah, well, because at core, I mean, within your friendship, you're also talking about the dynamic of growing up, and the nature of Oakland is changing. The identity of Oakland and the inhabitants are changing, and your characters embody it. But I mean, how do you see? I mean, clearly in this age of technology, Twitter, things are happening at a much more rapid pace. How do you see in 2018 this country dealing with its own identity crisis, and what do we need to do? I mean, how do you feel like audiences are looking at your film and helping them shape their position?
I don't know, but I hope it inspires conversation. I mean, that's all that we can try to do, Awareness, and also just, the opportunity. Sometimes you need to be able to look at something in order to contextualize your own experience, right? So this is very much a film about Oakland. That was very important to us to represent Oakland in a particular way. It's not like Philly isn't going through the same thing. It's not like we're not in a brand new building that's on top of something, It's not like wherever we are sitting right now is not, an area where people were displaced from. So like, and we were just in Atlanta, who I always call, I feel like they're like gentrification level X. Like I feel like they are so far ahead of it. They've like white flight and back again and back, like that. It's they've been going through it. So
this is where we are.
So I think it's, if anything, hopefully we've created something where people can look at that and be like, here's the thing I can talk about, because it's outside of my experience, and here's the way that my experience connects to that. And that's why we make art. Art is like, it's an empathy playground.
That's the kickback to the poetry world, right? Like the reason the writer has value is they give you the language that you maybe have had trouble finding. And when you get a film, the great thing is you don't have to sit there and try to find a way to find the words to navigate your frustration. You can just point at a piece of art and go, I feel like that. That character, that's what I feel like right now.
I love it.
Society needs those.
I love it. Plus Plus, they got to write a song and perform with E40.
Come on now.
That happened.
Dreams. And now, like, I talk to E40 fairly regularly, which, like, I'm the, you know, the whole rest of my life self is freaking out, like, all the time. You know,
You
I
find
try to
yourself
play it real cool.
sounding like E40.
I wish. Yeah, no, that's the.
I think we've stolen enough from you.
Yeah, look, I mean.
Please go see wherever there's a screen. You need to have Blindspotting on it. Better if you go pay, because then we get to see more like this.
But also, like, see it. However you got to see it.
However you
Go
gotta
see
see
it.
it.
We just watch it, you know.
Every time you come around, you monsters got me feeling like a monster in my own town.
I ain't no killer.
What's up? I'm David Diggs.
I'm Rafael Casal.
You are watching Real Black.
Real Black.